Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope in this crazy, turbulent time that we at least get to spend some time, not just with friends and family, but in some peaceful reflection of the things that we're all thankful for. Brief introduction. I'll update you guys. Depth chart. Injury report is looking a lot better than it would have at this point last year. Keontae Ingram is really, at this point, questionable about where we thought he would be 3 weeks out. We're going to push to see if we can make some progress here in the next 3 or 4 days, but he'll be, quote, questionable. And then, but Josh Moore, good news on Josh, and Jared Wiley are both listed as probable. Everybody else that you know about or would probably ask about are expected to play, barring any setbacks throughout this week. Obviously, extremely unique week for us, couple weeks for us. Nobody in this program has ever gone 20 straight days in the regular season without playing a game. So a lot of opportunities built in there as well, though, to get guys rested, to get guys healthy, and to, on a short week, hopefully get an extra day or two of preparation time for another top 25 opponent that is playing as good a football as anybody in our conference on both sides of the football right now. And, a team that is, I think, top 30 or top 25 in both total offense, total defense, scoring defense. I mean, you name it. They're a very balanced team, both offensively and defensively. And then on the offensive side of the ball, very balanced in terms of their ability to run with one of, if not the nation's best running backs behind their offensive line and NFL tight ends, as well as, a big-time NFL prospect at quarterback in Brock Purdy. So, and then the defense, I mean, I think their front three guys, when you look at just their starters alone, are as good as there is in this conference. And then their backups, when they come in, are really, really good players. And they kind of are the engine to that defense. They're able to do a lot of things from a three-man front with those two defensive ends and nose guard. I mean, you're looking at one defensive end at 6'2", 260, the other one 6'6", 310, playing defensive end. And then I think the nose guard, Isaiah Lee, is a phenomenal player, 6'3", 301 pounds. I mean, makes a ton of plays, eats up a bunch of double teams, splits a bunch of double teams from the center and guard, and makes running the football, certainly in between the tackles, very, very difficult. But and then, who they have at Mike Rose, I would think is a candidate right now for Defensive Player of the Year in our conference. He's playing lights out, and so we know that we're going to have our hands full on both sides of the ball, and not just from a talent and execution standpoint. Got a ton of respect for Coach Campbell and his staff. I mean, you turn on the film, and the first thing that jumps off is very well coordinated, very well coached. You don't trick them a whole lot. You don't see guys out of their gaps. You don't see guys missing assignments on offense. And again, a team that's very balanced but very unique on both sides of the ball. Much like, for offense, I know going against their defense is much like a defense preparing for a wishbone or triple option team, and a lot of your rules get broken and or adjusted playing against this scheme. And we're going to figure out a way to move the ball. And defensively, obviously, it starts with stopping the run in those tight ends, and hopefully putting some pressure on the quarterback to make him uncomfortable back there. But it should be a heck of a matchup here. I'm glad we're playing at home on Senior Day. And this senior class is extremely special to me and to our program. And to see guys like Sam Ehlinger and Sam Cosmi and Derek Kerstetter and Taquan Graham, and the list goes on, line up in DKR for the last time in their career is pretty special and pretty emotional, considering the things that those guys have accomplished from where this program was when they got here to where it is now, the things that they've accomplished, not just in the previous 3 years, but that they're accomplishing currently in the season of 2020. And just really proud of them and excited to hopefully send them off with a very happy memory of senior day. But we know in order to do that, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. Questions?
Go ahead and start with Brian. Tom, as a coach, does it help you that Iowa State looks so good on Saturday, or would you have preferred they look off?
I don't know either way. I think them looking as good as they did, certainly, I want to say it got our guys' attention. They've had our guys' attention. The minute the game was announced on Wednesday that we were not going to be able to play Kansas, that our players went immediately into preparation mode for Iowa State, and you can't help but have a ton of respect and attention paid to Iowa State and the things that they've been able to do here over the last few weeks.
And along those lines of the standings, do you present to the guys that this is most likely going to be a Big 12 knockout game?
No, I mean, they know it. They know that every game from this point forward is the biggest game of the year for us. We're one of the few teams in America left that still control their own destiny in terms of the ability to reach their conference championship. But we know that you can't win them all until you win the first one. And, that's priority number one. There is no talking about what might be, what could be, this, that, and the other. Our players know that, we control our own destiny, but in order to do that, we've got to go 1-0 each week. And, we also are very, very aware of the talent level and level of play of our opponent here in just 5 days.
Jeff, go ahead.
Tom, how would you evaluate kind of over this 3-game win streak, the play of your two inside linebackers and those guys rotating in at that spur position? And how imperative is it that they continue their trajectory, not just to deal with those tight ends, but you look at Breece Hall, I think he's got 31 carries of 10 or more yards this season to prevent those explosive plays in the run game.
Yeah, I think we played really well at the inside linebacker position. There was one game DeMarvion didn't have his best game, but throughout the kind of the improvement trajectory of our entire defense, those two guys have continued to get better as they get more comfortable in the system. The spur position, we're rotating for a reason, has been a bit up and down. I think both Chris and Anthony have made a ton of plays for us, and they've had some plays they wish they had back as well. And so, that's going to continue to be a battle. But the two inside guys, very pleased with their trajectory. I'm assuming you're talking about Juwan and DeMarvion. And then at the spur position, we've seen some flashes by both those guys and Anthony and Chris. Just need a little bit more consistency.
Anwar, you're up.
Yeah, Coach. I looked it up through your history. You're 4-1 after bye weeks here at Texas. Clearly 3-0 in bowl games. I'm curious as to what that extra time of preparation. How does that help you coming off when you've had like a few weeks to kind of rest, get prepared, whatever the case may be.
I wish I had a better answer for you. We don't do anything a whole lot different in bye weeks or anything. I think rest is critical, but rest with a purpose. Rest while you're preparing. Rest while you're watching film. We're smart with our practice schedules. We don't burn them out over the bye week. We try to get our work in, and then the week leading up to the game, like this week, for instance, especially knowing that it's or would have been a short week. We would have been getting back around midnight on Saturday and having to wake up early on a Sunday to start preparing for Iowa State to have a Tuesday practice on a Monday, since the game is on a Friday. So the ability to have our Tuesday practice on a Saturday, have our Wednesday practice be kind of today, and then have a very tapered down, modified Thursday, kind of a double Thursday practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, but only try to be out on the field anywhere from 70 to 90 minutes will certainly should help our freshness levels. The biggest thing I'm concerned, we've never done this in the regular season. This isn't a normal bye week. This is 20 days without playing a game. And, the biggest thing the biggest line, the most important line you walk is you got to get the full speed reps, or else you're going to be extremely rusty, having not played anybody other than your scout team for 20 days. That's not real smart, but you've also got to be smart in terms of the health of your team and the fatigue factor. This is, our guys' bodies, I think, are wearing down a little bit more this year than normal years for obvious reasons. So you just got to be smart. I think we like to have fun and give our guys the time off that they need. But it's a very focused and intentional time off the field in terms of the mental preparation that still goes along with it.
Joe, go ahead.
Coach, I know you mentioned on the conference call you don't want to talk about his legacy, but you did mention it'll be a very emotional moment when Sam walks out there for what's likely his last game. So I'm just kind of curious, what are you, as you lead up to that moment, what's going through your mind about your time spent with him and his Texas career?
Wow. Well, I think our fans, I think his legacy with our fans, with everybody associated with college football, he's going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever put on the burnt orange and white, not just from a statistical standpoint, which the numbers bear that out very plainly, but all of the things that he has done in terms of the stabilization of this program from the time that both him and I arrived, and the state of the program when we got here compared to now, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. And his steadfastness, his leadership ability, his belief in not just the University of Texas, not just the University of Texas football, but in our program and our way of doing things. He's a part of 2018. That was the highest winning percentage of a season since 2018, and we're on the cusp of we've matched that already, and on the cusp of hopefully surpassing that this season. So he's got a lot to be proud of in terms of, he's played for a conference title. He's beaten a top 5 team in a New Year's Six bowl game. He has beaten a top 10 conference opponent on the road. I mean, he's done a lot of things in his 4 years here that haven't been done around here in over a decade. And he's got a lot to be proud of. And as far as the emotion, I mean, I think there's two sides to that. I think the emotion that, he's going to be playing in his last game at DKR, that is certainly emotional. But we've still got 2 regular season games left, and hopefully a couple more games after that. And, our plan is to have a relationship throughout the rest of our life. So it's not like this is a goodbye scene in some rom-com movie or something like that. I mean, this is, we'll embrace each other. I'll make sure that he knows, as if I hadn't told him 1,000 times already, how much I appreciate him. And much like is his personality, he's going to want to go out. He's not going to want to be all sappy, and he's going to want to go out get warmed up to go win a game, and worry about all this legacy and senior day and all that stuff after the game and after the season.
Roger, go ahead.
Hey, Tom, that senior night moment, I know they'll have it, and I know there'll be fans, but it won't be the same as 100,000 for a lot of guys, that don't get the cheers that Sam does. That's such a unique moment. Is that kind of one of the downsides of the situation we're in? It's going to be kind of a different pregame celebration as well.
Yeah, I can tell you, again, a few years back we had 100,000 in the stands against Texas Tech and wound up losing the game. I think if you polled all of those seniors, if they could choose between winning the game or having 100,000 people in the stands, they would choose winning the game 100 out of 100 times. So I think if you asked any of our players, any of our seniors, the pomp and circumstance of senior day is so far down the list of their priorities, with winning the game being the highest of those priorities, that my hunch is that they probably won't even notice.
Bob, go ahead.
What do you credit the biggest slip on defense in the last 3 games, even against Oklahoma a little bit as well as their offense performed? Where do you see the biggest development there, and how much of it was just needing to get reps defensively and getting back into what Chris Ash wants?
All of it. I mean, you answered the question for me. I mean, it was reps and knowledge and familiarity with the defense combined with, better tackling. And, we're still a work in progress. We haven't played our best game yet, but there was no flip. I think that was the first part. What flipped the defense? There really wasn't a flip. It's been a steady, gradual increase in productivity and efficiency, and all of it is due to practice. We've had 2 bye weeks. We had the bye week after the Oklahoma game. We made tremendous strides on that side of the football in that week, and then we've had a week and a half here to improve as well. So I think, again, it's the reps that we didn't get, that we're slowly but surely playing catch up and getting them. We're not where we would be in a normal year in terms of that and the experience level within the defense, but Chris and his staff have done a phenomenal job of accelerating that process as best we can, and we just, again, continue to see them trend up and up and up the more familiar they get with the defense and the calls and the adjustments and their assignments within those calls, and how to adjust to things that they might not have seen from the scout team, and all of a sudden it shows up on game day. We've got a much better understanding of the big picture of the defense in terms of how to handle those things when they come up throughout the course of a game.
Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to go back and ask about that 2017 recruiting class. We're talking to Sam a couple weeks ago, and he mentioned that they came up with this sarcastic, sort of not safe for work name for that recruiting class. And I'm just kind of curious, what have these last 4 years been like with these guys, and what is this day going to be like, knowing that it's a little bit strange and a lot of these guys can return because of the NCAA rules and how the stadium's going to look, but just for you, that first recruiting class, what have these 4 years been like with those guys like Sam and TQ and Derek and everybody else?
Indescribable. I mean, especially on a week, we're all probably a little bit reflective on the positive things that we're thankful in our life. Other than my God, my family, I don't know that I can think of a whole lot of other things that I'm thankful for from a priority standpoint than that senior class, and really the entire team as a whole, and how they have handled this season, the off season as well as the season, as well as not playing as well as we had hoped early, but bouncing back, continuing to improve. And then you look at that senior class, man, considering, when they came in, this program had 3 straight losing seasons and was in bad shape. And They did a phenomenal job of embracing that, of understanding that this was not going to be an overnight turnaround. And within 2 years, they had us playing for our conference's title, or we're a big part of that. And 2 years after that, we're controlling our own destiny to do that again. And that being said, they've all developed. When I say all, most of them have developed really, really well from where they were ranked coming out of high school. You've got a quarterback now that's one of the all-time greats in the history of the school. You got a left tackle that's probably, if he stays playing the way that he does, a 3-star kid that's going to be developed into a first-round draft pick. You've got a 4-year starter at Derek Kerstetter on the other side, on the offensive line. You've got Taquan Graham that, if he continues to have the season that he's having, he's going to be a draftable guy. You've got Cade Brewer that's been a 4-year starter. You got guys like Josh Thompson. I know I'm forgetting a ton of other guys, but these guys have been the glue, man, that have held these 4 seasons, not just together, but they have been the voice in the locker room that has kind of steadied the ship when the seas get rough, from time to time around here. And they have done a great job of keeping everybody focused in that locker room. And I couldn't be more thankful, more proud of the 4 years that they've had here. Obviously, our goal as an entire team is to send them out as conference champs. But we know that in order to do that, we've got to prepare our tails off this week, as well as play our tails off on Friday to beat a really, really, really good and talented Iowa State team. But, man, that senior class is going to hold a very, very special place in my heart and hopefully in the hearts of all of our fans for what they have done and where they have taken this program in just 4 short years from where it was to where we are now.
Got 3 last questions in queue, and we'll get through those, starting with Chip.
Tom, happy Thanksgiving, by the way.
You too.
Where have you made the most progress on offense, and what is your biggest concern on that side of the ball?
Well, definitely in the run game. I think I saw a stat the other day. Bijan Robinson leads all freshman tailbacks in carries and yards in terms of 5-star. I think it was 5-star, maybe 5 and 4-star guys. So we continue to get better as he gets better, and the offensive line is continuing to gel together. So I think on that side of the ball, we have improved tremendously from the first couple weeks to where we are now in terms of running the ball. That being said, I think Iowa State's given up, I don't know what it is, it's like 104 yards a game rushing, or 15th in the country at 104 yards a game. So running the football is going to be very difficult against this crew, but I have been pleased with the improvement in that area on that side of the ball. Biggest concern, I think, is just the consistency on the perimeter. We've been in and out of lineups. Josh Moore's been hurt, Jay Witt's been hurt, Jake Smith has been hurt, Brennan Schooler's been hurt. So we've had guys kind of bouncing in and out of the lineup that have not led to a whole lot of consistency, not just in their level of play, but in the timing and trust with the quarterback as well. So that's a big point of emphasis, again, in Iowa State's scheme, to where they're going to drop 8 on most down and distances in coverage. That's going to be a tall task as well, but I know Mike and the offensive staff are going to have a good plan, and we should be about as healthy at the receiver position as we've been in the last couple months, really.
Cedric, go ahead.
Hey Tom, 20 days between games. That's a lot. of non-game time.
Well, and don't forget, we thought we were going to play Kansas up until 1:45 on Wednesday, too. So it's not like we had all these 20 days to prepare for Iowa State either. We were preparing for a whole nother opponent up until, whatever it was, 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
That's true, and there's no replacing game reps. How do you manufacture an edge? I mean, that's got to be a tough challenge. And how big a concern is that rust factor that you mentioned earlier?
It's a big concern. One that we've addressed with our players and will continue to address. Feel like we had a good plan last week in the two practices that we had where we did not talk about Iowa State. One being a really brief practice Wednesday, immediately following the announcement that the Kansas game would be postponed. We went out for about an hour and got some good work, as well as Friday. Even though it was short, there was a lot of good teamwork with the ones on ones, twos on twos. That we had 2-minute drill, third down, red zone, the whole nine. We'll go today. We always end practice with good on good. On Wednesdays, which is what today is really for us from a practice standpoint. We'll get some third down and we'll get some red zone 7-on-7. So I think you got to continue to do and have segments of your practice where it's good on good, but you've also got to be really smart, especially this late in the season with bodies kind of wearing down a little bit faster this year than in years past because of the entire off season that these kids have gone through. And so it's a fine line to walk, but one that I think you got to make the players aware that this is something that we're going to have to fight. The rust factor, we're going to have to be cognizant about it leading up to kickoff, that we can't sleepwalk through the first quarter or anything like that. But in terms of preparation, us as a staff, we tried to be very calculated with the amount of good on good reps that we took, because we know we need them, but we also know that we've got to have a healthy, fresh, fast football team on Friday against Iowa State.
Last one, Marcus, go ahead.
Hey, Tom. Just curious, what does Thanksgiving look like for the Herman family? And then in general, for all your players and coaches, what does it look like this year during a pandemic?
Yeah, for us, I don't, my in-laws rolled into town Saturday night, so they'll be here. My wife's brothers and sisters and parents, and so we've got about I don't know how many of them, at the house, all COVID tested, by the way, and all COVID negative, but a normal Thanksgiving, I haven't had a normal one since I was probably 17 years old. When you play college football and then you jump immediately into coaching college football, you just kind of assume that your Thanksgivings are going to be spent on the practice fields. And, when you play Friday night games, they're going to be spent in hotels. And normally when we play the Friday after Thanksgiving, knowing that we're going to be in the hotel, what we have done is practice very early Wednesday morning, allow our local players, local being within about a 2.5, 3 hour driving to, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, to go home Wednesday afternoon and have kind of a makeshift Thanksgiving at their house if they wanted to, if their folks want to. And then that Thursday when we're at the hotel, we have invited every travel squad member's family member, and we have a nice Thanksgiving feast, turkey, ham, mashed potatoes, gravy, the whole nine. But this year we can't, and it's unfortunate. This year we'll be in a hotel, albeit at home, but we won't even be able to eat Thanksgiving dinner with each other. These kids will be grabbing their dinner and heading up to their hotel room to eat in isolation. And it sucks. There's no better adjective for it. It's not the way Thanksgiving's meant to be spent, but it's also you know, when you sign up to play college football and coach college football, you know, kind of the understanding is that your Thanksgivings and Christmases are not going to be normal like anybody else's, and that's okay. And you know, we've all kind of come to the understanding that it's worth it to play and to coach this great game and to be around each other.